Hey, it's Stace here from Sacred Art and Story, and I'm sitting here in my office slash studio. I'm moving everything around, so one room is changing into another room, and there's a bit of chaos going on around me. But I thought I would stop and talk about this and record this while I was kind of thinking about it, because as I've been like moving stuff around and doing all the little things, there's been something that's just been like going through my mind. And it's come out of, I think, a post an article that I wrote on Substack, and I'll put that below for you. But I was really talking about how in order to kind of process, I need to sit down and create. And it's come out of the week that was the ice shooting in Minneapolis, and all the things. Like, so much has been going on, that first couple weeks of the year, not just sort of in the world, but in my life. And it just kind of felt like I could do two things, which part of me would be like, let's get my to-do list going and let me just get busy and I won't think about it and it'll all be okay. And the other part, which hopefully, I think at this point is the bigger part, which is no, just go sit and create. Go make some art. And that's always been the challenge for me. For many, many years, I would just kind of keep trying to push through when things weren't working. I would like, what else can I do? Let me get into action mode. And there would be this voice inside of me somewhere that would say, go make art. And I'd be like, I don't have time for that. Like, what is that going to do? And what I really did finally learn was that it really is the place, my art table is the place that I get to really think and really process and slow down enough so that I can feel what I'm feeling and hear my own thoughts and notice what's going on in my psychic space and sort of process in some way. And so I was talking about that a little bit in the article. And I think what was so surprising, sort of in a weird way, maybe it's not really surprising, but I think most of the comments that came back were like that thought, right? Of your art table doesn't have to be about technique, but it can be about process. Your art doesn't have to be about like the technicalities and trying to make it perfect, because that's what I was talking about. Because none of my art really, well, most of my art, I would say, isn't really about technique. I am a doll maker, and there are times when I'm really fussy and try to really create something that um, takes me further into learning. But most of my art really is not. Like, I am not a painter. I love to make things where I'm not worried about technique. I'm just sort of doing what I want to do, and I don't really care how it turns out. But because it is part of my process, I end up loving it. And so I was just sort of saying, like, I just needed that this past week to sit down and make something. I was kind of painting, I was working on something, an idea for what we're going to do next month in the Artful Crone, but I wasn't like serious about it. Like, I wasn't focused on it. I didn't have to have it be something. I just needed to do something. And I kind of feel like the reason why I think this is often sort of the thing where people are like, that landed for me, that idea, where it could be about process and not about technique. It could be just about doing it for the sake of doing it. And I think why that kind of lands is because, one, we're not taught that, right? We're taught to do it for a reason, take a class, learn a technique, get better at it. And I think that's a thing that becomes the biggest fear, the obstacle really for so many women that I've met anyway, to kind of get back to their creativity. Like, there's that idea that they're going to have to figure out how to do something that's maybe going to be challenging, and maybe they're not going to be really good at it. So why even start? And none of that is kind of where I come from, with anything that I like to create. Anything that's got to feel like joyful doesn't have to have any kind of purpose. It doesn't have to have any kind of end goal, right? And that's how I teach my classes. That's what we do in the Art for Corn. Like everything that I like to do around the art and the work that I do is not about that perfection, right? And it was just such one of those things that so many people were commenting on that. And I, part of me gets it, and part of me is like, man, I just wish everybody could just be like, I'm just going to make something because I feel like it today. Right? And I don't care what it looks like, how it turns out. I'm just going to let myself play, and I think that's where that healing force comes, right? Because that's when you kind of get lost in your creativity and you don't think about things anymore. And I think that creative space is where that healing comes from. It helps us to expand and create then in our lives, when we give ourselves those opportunities. So yeah, I just, I'm still processing that a little bit and thinking about how we've got to shift that, thought, a little bit around our art and just be willing to kind of go and not know how to do it or just do it just because we want to. Um, Kind of reminds me, this woman on my Substack who's part of my group, had posted, a couple weeks before that how she had just kind of wanted to learn how to make spirit dolls. And so she just started making spirit dolls and everybody was like, that's so brave, and it's that same thing. It's like, no, like she's like, the bar doesn't need to be that low. Like I just kind of wanted to make something, so I made something. Like, why do we need to make it such a huge deal? Right. And I think particularly now, like when the world is so, we need just to have that time to do the things that's not a big deal. It's just art and it just gets to be what we want it to be because in the moment it's really fun and colorful and beautiful and it was enjoyable and you don't have to do anything with it.